morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're tuning into this video. So, I want to try to do something new. I'm going to be doing daily videos every 2 to 3 days by the light of the moon. So as the moon changes signs, that's when I do a new video, or weekly videos. We'll just see. And then mixing in, might do shorts, daily shorts of astrology. So trying different things, just see what will work and how it'll be. So I am going to be creative when I am making these videos, kind of coming up with things as it comes, and maybe creating new things as I'm talking, and also basing it off of learned information, just to make these videos as creative and varied and with as much detailed and interesting information as possible. And I might draw different references from books or movies or TV shows or just from life. So I just want to clear that up front. So today we have a new moon in Gemini. And so during this new moon, the sun and moon are in the same sign. And new moons are quiet times, where the energy is very, very calm, which really encourages us to go inward, to come into the reflection time of looking inside ourselves and starting new things, initiating new things quietly, peacefully. And this means that we can do so in a very grounded way, where it's not like full moons when the energy is really, really big and like, oh, let's go out and let's have a party and I'm so enthusiastic and I'm so energetic. No. So that's what new moons are about. And so the sun and moon are conjunct in the same sign in Gemini, and they conjunct when the sun passes through certain degrees of the sign and the moon passes through certain degrees, and then they meet up at the same degree, and at the time that they do that and at the exact degree in the exact minute that they do, then they are conjunct. And Gemini has to do with our thoughts, rules over our thoughts. How quickly are we thinking? How positively are we thinking? Are we thinking very optimistically? Are we open to new possibilities? Are we willing to go for it and commit in our minds? Basically, the mental message that we're sort of ingrained with in our heads, and whether that be a positive message or a negative message. Positive self-thinking, or PMA, as they say, PMA, positive mental attitude. For instance, this is where those references come in. I was watching, it was this show called Alone, and it was about these people who get sent to this island, where they have to survive for a variety of the days. and for a variety of days, and under and in extreme circumstances. And so this guy was there, and he had family back at home. I believe that there was something having to do with, new children being born into the family, and he had to be there. But this was his one opportunity. Don't quote me on it, but it was an opportunity, a grand opportunity, a golden opportunity for him to go on the show and prove his strength and capability and, survival skills, resilient skills. And he couldn't focus on what he was doing and compartmentalizing the family situation with where he was and what he wanted to do and the steps that he would take to build up foundations for himself to survive as time would pass slowly but surely. And after a couple of days, in this, it takes a lot of money to be able to do this, and a lot of money as a gain reward at the end of surviving, based upon who the winner is. And so after a couple of days, he just couldn't do it. He couldn't focus. He was like, and he was sad, and he was devastated and frustrated, mad at himself. But he just decided to leave. And that was just the stuff going on, the thoughts going on in his mind, and how it was affecting his mood and emotions. So the mindset that you're thinking to yourself is really, really looked at with Gemini. And also it has to do with Gemini is communication. So anything dealing with the, either journaling in your journal, this is what I think, this is how I feel, this is what I believe. Writing stories or writing poems or, things along those lines. Reading information, making videos, watching videos, anything in the communication realms. And coming home with that. Committing your attention at something instead of flitting from one thing to another. And coming into just sitting back and relaxing and reading something, writing something, listening to something, and possibly committing, focusing the attention, as I think I said that before, and possibly appreciating what is said, the language that is said, the words that were spoken, and watching something that uplifts you, reading something that uplifts you, takes your energy and, turns up the dial and moves it up, makes you feel uplifted instead of down, or depressed or fearful. So so those are big things. We have Mercury retrograde in Taurus. And we just had Mercury retrograde in Gemini, so Mercury retrograde in Taurus is really, really slow. Let's make decisions without jumping into them. Let's slow ourselves down and appreciate nature, food, all these things, but appreciating, nature and food and essential things related to Taurus, but related to Gemini, involves the communications. Now, the other thing is we had this Jupiter-Mars conjunction in Aries the other day, and that was real big energy. Very, very wild energy, very enthusiastic. Aries is high on its energy. It's like taking a match and lighting that flame, getting that spark, that boost. if you were to be in a car and you were to press the, speed boost to the accelerator, it's just a, boost of energy. It's like springtime when the flowers come out, when the grass starts to turn green. Um, on the downside, it can be impulsive energy, and it can be the battle. I'm right, you're wrong, I'm better, and I'm gonna fight for it till the bitter end. So choosing love and peace and fighting with passion, but also compassion, as well in the end. So that's the other thing. And then we have Mercury, the planet of your mind, and Saturn square. And square is 90 degrees, and it's the difficult aspect. So Mercury is in Taurus, it's retrograde, so we can reflect in our thinking. And Saturn is in Aquarius, and Saturn, let's get serious. What are the structures? My mental structures. What am I saying to myself? What am I thinking to myself? What are my habits, mental habits? And are they serving me? Or are they holding me back? Maybe it could be excuses, so like, I can't do this, I don't know how to do this, or these patterns where we're overeating at something, maybe just physically, or maybe too much technology, or too much of this, too much of that, and moderating the things that we are doing. So keeping the mental health, in check, as well. Like those people who go on a diet plan, like a mental, diet, not like, oh, that restrictive energy, but just that kind, gentle, very grounded energy of knowing that this is just going to be right for me, and maybe it's something that I need right now at this time for me to feel better, that's been sort of waiting and sitting there, and now I am taking its hand and walking with it through the door into something better. So that is the daily astrology for today. Thank you for tuning in.